Hello and welcome to another episode for the love of film. My name is Gabe Thorpe and I'm the real reason Palpatine returned. Please welcome my guest hosts for today, Cal Skavsma and Ben Katarzinski. What season is this? 4?
Yeah, this is season 4.
Season 4 question mark premiere. We're finally concluding the Star Wars quadrilogy of episodes.
Thank God.
Finally,
Yes, it's finally over.
The Skywalker saga.
The Skywalker Tigervision saga.
Yes, of reviews.
Yes, absolutely. Rise of Skywalker. You know what? I feel awoken. I feel like
Yes.
I'm the last. I don't have a Last Jedi pun, so that joke kind of fell
It did fall. It fell
apart
hard.
immediately. I shouldn't even attempt it.
Yeah.
But hey, how was your break?
My break was a break. Worked, made money, and that was it.
Heck to the yeah. The true capitalist struggle.
Mm-hmm. My
Cal.
break was okay. I worked, made money, and had a break.
I had mouth surgery.
Oof.
Yeah, it didn't suck that much. I did a lot of relaxing, did a lot of chillaxing, a lot of Netflix.
But your mouth is good now?
My mouth is pretty okay.
Good, that's your best asset.
Yes. So we saw the Rise of Skywalker over break. I saw it with, fun fact, I saw it with my grandmother and my dad. And what's interesting is my grandmother, of course, took my dad to see the original Star Wars.
Of course.
In 1977. So it was a big full circle moment for the two of them. And I asked her, when's the last time you've seen a Star Wars film, Grandma? And she said, literally in the theater in 1977.
Wow.
So she's literally only seen the first one when it premiered and the last one when it premiered.
For her.
She liked it. She liked both. Anyways, so it's time to kind of go around, give our initial thoughts on this movie. Can I go first this time?
Sure.
I usually go last out of politeness, but I feel like I need to get this out now, or else I'm going to sound like a maniac.
It's a long document.
Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is a bad film for numerous reasons, chief among which are a breakneck pacing which confuses and exhausts viewers rather than exciting them, as well as a story which is more interested in completing itself than actually being told. That's not to belittle the valiant efforts of the cast and crew. In fact, the special effects and acting in this film often shines as some of the best in the series. Anthony Daniels as C-3PO and Adam Driver as Ben Solo shine out as great examples of actors who managed to carry this film somewhat, while poor John Boyega, despite doing his absolute very best, is handed a character arc so bad even the writers didn't bother finishing it. All of these technical achievements can't save a film that even the most ardent Star Wars fans, sequel fans included, admit is a corporately manufactured experience. The film constantly reminds us how quote-unquote totally cringe The Last Jedi was, guys, while at the same time suffering from the same flaws of that film, except worse, alienating both sequel fans and critics. Instead of one character that could have easily been replaced by a lead, Rose Tico, we have two characters that serve no plot purpose at all, other than confirming that Poe and Finn are definitely not gay guys. Instead of a slow pacing in which characters sometimes aren't doing much, we have an insane pacing in which characters are doing way too much for us to process in a single viewing. Through this and numerous asinine story choices that aren't even explained in the movie itself, I'm looking at you, Palpatine, it culminates in a Star Wars finale that feels much more like a cynical, rushed-through movie made out of necessity, rather than the epic celebration of a long-beloved franchise that everyone involved, except Bob Iger, wanted it to be. 2 out of 10.
Okay. My thoughts are, it's very bad.
And?
Well, that's the show.
You're not going to explain? Not giving us an introduction? A peek into your mind?
Yeah, okay, I'll only say this preface with this. None of the other Star Wars films, there's very few films that I've actually, have a negative feeling towards in the way of most bad films. It's the absence of good feelings. No films really actively hurt me or make me angry. There's a few select films, shows, games, books.
And I feel like there are a lot of films that make me angry, but they're clearly supposed to.
Well,
right? They're doing their job.
I mean, unintentionally.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get into that. But unintentionally,
Make you mad. And you're saying this film makes you mad.
Yes, this film generally like gave me negative feelings, and there's very few pieces of art that actually do that.
Damn.
I wrote down my thoughts, so I'll
Yes.
sandwich your writing down the thoughts. I wrote, this was a Star Wars film, period. I didn't love it, and I didn't hate it, period. Adam Driver is cool, comma, the rest is okay.
I do agree that Adam Driver is cool.
Yes.
He's cool in general, and he is also cool in this movie.
So here's the SNL has not been good for years. He is very good every time he's on SNL.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's because Adam Driver is cool.
Yeah.
And he makes everything around him cooler by proxy.
Yeah.
And then I also attached the vine of the little girl with the eye makeup smeared while the
Can we
Sam
play
Smith
it?
song. Yes. Because that's how I felt about it.
Okay.
Continue.
It's more or less how I felt about it too, I feel. Yeah, let's go through this. So we have notes this time. Isn't that
Be more
wonderful?
focused. So first
Yeah.
we're off with the plot.
First thing's written is dumb stuff.
That's just like all. That's basically plot holes. Just what are the dumb things? And I mainly brought this up because the one dumb thing I want to bring up, just to kind of get the nitpicks out of the way, because I don't want it just to all be nitpicks, but there's a few things I gotta say. This is the worst opening title crawl in the history of Star Wars, easily.
I don't even know if I agree with that.
Okay,
It's bad. It's really bad. But like we're talking like Attack of the Clones title crawl. There is the Trade Federation. There's conflict in the Galactic Senate.
Here's the thing.
There's,
No.
several separatists.
That's fine.
attempting to move.
Whatever. It's just here's the thing.
Bob
Here's the thing.
Boris.
So I didn't see the film opening night, and I heard like people talking about the opening title scroll, saying it was like horrible. And I'm like, okay, it's just opening title scroll. The first line. We're spoiling.
The
right?
dead speak. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Massive spoilers.
They're like, Palpatine rises from the dead, and I'm like, okay. So we're just doing this. It's like, okay,
Palpatine comes back off screen through text.
that's the thing. So other title scrolls could be boring. This is the one that's like, hey, everything you just knew, we're skipping all that. And there's like, here's this completely other story. It's like a film's worth of information happens in the first like minute through text.
There's no real scene really where Palpatine's like, I'm back. Like almost kinda, but not really, because they just tell you he's back in the title crawl.
What if like
They deliberately cut out that source of tension.
What if like Avengers Endgame, spoilers for Avengers
Endgame.
Infinity War and maybe Endgame. What if they had an opening like little like blurb at the end? They said, since the last film, all the Avengers came back to life, and then they came back to life and they defeated Thanos. Now they're fighting.
And they
this
don't
dude.
really ever explain it
It's just like-
beyond maybe a
What?
line by an extra. That's the other thing. They explain Palpatine coming back by an extra, essentially. At least someone who don't know. There's not an established character just going, oh yeah, the Sith have cloning. Kind of, maybe. We don't know.
They explained it through Fortnite.
Oh, that's the other thing. So that's more of a theory than like absolute confirmation, but I do kind of agree with it.
No, I mean,
Yeah. So in the title crawl, right?
Yes.
They explained that Palpatine has sent broadcasted a message throughout the galaxy, and you don't see this in the film itself. It's only in the title scroll. In the Star Wars Fortnite event, you hear that broadcast. So people are like, they actually had the pivotal beginning of their film out of the film in Fortnite, a game primarily played by 6-year-old children
I mean, Star Wars.
and Ninja.
Okay, do you guys have any? I just put dumb stuff.
It's mainly Palpatine. Palpatine is the massive, veiny elephant in the room. I'd say beyond dumb stuff, Chewbacca's killed off and then immediately brought back in the next
yeah.
scene.
I'll say that for dumb stuff. No, that's not just Chewbacca. That happens constantly. Like C-3PO gets his mind erased. And like it's a sad moment.
By the end of the film, it is fun. It gets it back.
Let's see. Rey stabs Kylo, and then she saves him. Rey dies, and then Kylo saves her. There's like 50 times in this film where someone dies, and then they come back.
But the only time it ever elicits any emotional reaction is when it happens to Chewbacca.
I'd say
Because you're
C3PO.
like, what? And then he's back. Literally, not even 30
next
seconds
scene,
later.
yeah.
I would say C-3PO simply because Chewbacca was so quick. I'm like, there's no way Chewbacca died. C-3PO, I'm like, they might actually be erasing C-3PO's memory. I don't know. I kind of felt like they might be doing that, but no.
Right, and then they just reverse that sacrifice entirely. You know, it's not like that gets rid of any kind of bittersweet emotion you could possibly leave the audience with.
Yep.
Right? Which actually might be a positive thing.
Okay. Done.
Yeah, we can go on and on and on
Yeah.
about the dumb stuff of the film. Let's move on. You mentioned Harry Potter.
I did.
But-
I
but-
was.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So this is a good time to do a little bit of a plot summary.
Yeah, I felt like there were a lot of similarities to Harry Potter, specifically like the last two movies. Because you have her, I think I wrote down, you have her going to find those seekers.
The
to,
Horcruxes.
Yeah, it was like the Horcruxes.
This marker's bad.
And you have her going to look for these, just like Harry was looking for the
I shall
Horcruxes.
return.
And then there was another thing that I wrote. You have Leia dying like Dumbledore did because
Yeah.
they're like this overarching like symbol of good. And then the battle between Palpatine and Rey. I was like, this literally looks like Harry versus Voldemort.
It's like
underground.
It's like he doesn't like do any special trick. He's like, oh, I'm pointing my wand as hard as I
Yeah.
can, sort of thing. Like
Yeah.
he's just like, I'm gonna lightning you even harder than before.
and that's literally what it felt like. I was like,
I mean, and part of it, I think that's just like typical blockbuster. But I do see, like, especially your kind of point on the Horcruxes.
Yeah.
I think it just shows how like generic and how like
Exactly.
they had little thought about like, okay, how do we get these people to different planets? They have to find these three mystical MacGuffin things, and like take them back.
Yeah. I did see speculation. Apparently, it's more or less confirmed at this point, but I didn't actually see the article confirming it. So to me, it's just still speculation. That essentially, J.J. Abrams and the other people actually wanted to write a good movie, and they got halfway through it, and then Bob Iger said, a lot of the fans hated The Last Jedi, so I'm writing the movie now.
Really?
Not literally Bob Iger, but essentially, how about we make the most manufactured film of all time?
Yes.
Guys. And if you don't, you're fired.
I mean, it's like Colin Trevorrow, the original director of this film. You could actually see the notes he had for what this film was going to be, and it's so much better.
Really?
Yes.
I haven't actually seen the notes yet.
Which is a surprise because I do not like Colin Trevorrow at all.
Really?
He made the
as
first-
a filmmaker?
Yeah, he made the first Jurassic Park. Yeah, as a filmmaker, I don't.
He made the first Jurassic Park?
Jurassic World.
I was about to say, I'm
Yeah.
like, and you hate this man? Also, he would have been young. But, so yeah, that's an interesting remark about Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. Nostalgia pandering.
Oh boy.
Okay, you only really see it at the end where they just do a bunch. They go like, do, nostalgia.
Well,
They finally give Chewie a medal.
That was like, I said that all this film only made me angry. I thought that was gonna be the case going into it. At a certain point, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm fine. Whatever. That was the point. I literally in the theater, as quiet as I possibly could, so I didn't bother people, but still somewhat loudly. When that happened, said a word I cannot say on the show. I was like so like disgusted by that moment. Not because I'm against Chewie getting a medal or whatever. I don't.
But it's just the most possible like stupid fan service thing they could do.
It makes no sense in the given thing, and it's like this. It only exists as a little wink to fans, and you wouldn't know this because you haven't watched the original trilogy.
yeah, this means nothing to me.
Yeah,
There's
in the original Star Wars, in the medal ceremony at the end, they all get like Han and Luke get medals, and Chewie doesn't.
Because
And-
he's a Wookiee animal thing.
Oh.
right, and some fans are like, "Hey, Chewie deserves a medal. He helped out," and it's just kind of like a little small fan thing.
Yeah. And it's like a small whatever, like it's like a small
Right.
nitpick. The fact that like Star Wars like caves is like, oh, actually, hey, I'm like, it's so clear it was not written or made by someone who actually cared about telling a good story.
That's my ultimate criticism with this. This doesn't feel like this should have been the epic Star Wars finale that most fans should have loved, right?
Yeah.
It should have been a celebration of the franchise. But instead, it feels like it was made by a bunch of people who were like, "Oh yeah, Star Wars? Yeah, it's cool. It's cool, I guess."
And I could save this for Poe and Finn, but I'll do this for nostalgia pandering because this is the biggest one for me, or second biggest. So, final climax. All the ships are being destroyed. Poe is in his moment of like despair.
Yeah.
He's like, And then like he's like, and instead of like trying to rouse the troops, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we failed." Like a horrible thing for a general to say, even in those
Right.
moments. And then Lando shows up. He's like, "Oh, hope's never over. I brought a bunch of men." And like, it's like, okay, we couldn't even give, because Poe had no real cool moments in this film. We couldn't even give him like one.
Yeah.
No, we're giving this cool moment to, hey, like, remember that guy you remember from the last film?
Yep.
I mean, from the last films. We're gonna give all of Poe's moments to him. He's the new cool guy. I'm just like,
Yep.
give me a break. And there's quite a few moments like that where like it feels like a moment to really deepen the new characters and like show their character development is like gotten rid of to have like a little like cheap little fan service, like, hey, remember these movies? And like just a little bit of fan service is fine, whatever. I don't like it, but it's okay. But it's so often used to like kick the legs off of like some of the new interesting stuff that this trilogy brought.
Yeah, I feel like I do need to do a plot summary of this actually.
Okay.
So, this is pretty much the entire plot of the film. All right. Main characters: Poe, Finn, and Rey go trying to find Sith object that'll bring them to Emperor. Kylo Ren tells Rey that Palpatine is her father. Can Kylo Ren becomes a good guy again? They kill Palpatine together, and they kiss, and then Kylo Ren dies, and that's the movie.
Here's
Her
the thing.
father or grandfather?
Oh no, grandfather. I'm sorry, I got that really wrong.
You remind me of something with that, and as I should have put this in the thing. You skip the entire middle half because nothing of importance happens
Right.
in the middle half.
Right. There is nothing.
It's
You
like-
you go to one new planet, they meet one new character who, again, and I wasn't joking when the literal only plot
Yes.
point that she serves is to assert to the people who give a crap, who shouldn't give a crap,
Yeah.
that Poe and Finn are definitely not gay.
Yeah, first one on like the whatever plan. Like, oh,
That is the only possible intentional thing they could be serving,
yes.
which is pretty gross.
I didn't even think of it that way, but yeah, I think
Like, what else could it be? I
agree with you.
I honestly think that. I honestly think Disney execs were like, we gotta tell the homophobes that. No, and you're laughing, but I'm being serious.
Yeah.
I honestly think they were catering to bigots in that.
yeah.
Which, bold take. I will be, to be fair, but I legitimately cannot think of any other intentional reason
To
for
be fair-
those, for not just that one character who's like they essentially give a love interest to Poe and a potential one to Finn.
I mean, it's like they don't like consummate anything or like go over, but it's enough
Right.
like, oh, Poe and her used to have a thing. Oh, Finn and her are starting to develop a thing. It's like
no, that's the other thing. They don't even consummate it. They don't even conclude the thing that they set up.
By
as
consummate,
the
I
love
just meant
interest.
like kiss or whatever, not like.
Like literally at the end, Poe looks at his love interest and he's kind of like, "Hey, you wanna?" And she's like, "Nuh-uh." And he's like, "All right."
And then there's this random scene of the other woman, like Finn's, and like Lando's like, "Hey, do you know who your parents are?" She's like, "No." He's like, "Let's find them."
Let's find out.
And apparently,
in a Star Wars story, a novel that you won't read.
and apparently, like it's revealed like outside of Lord, oh, she's Lando's daughter.
Because of course she is.
And I'm like, you
I know,
can't.
and of course, the only other black character other than Mace Windu in all of the movies is the daughter of another one of the black characters.
How are you feeling right now?
It's again, this is what I mean when I feel like I'm gonna turn into a madman when talking about this movie.
Gabe. Star Wars.
Star Wars. Hey, did you know this is Star Wars? Do you remember Star Wars?
Vaguely.
It's true for you. Let's go over characters. Rey and Kylo. Oh, actually, let's get Poe and Finn out of the way. They're not gay. That's it.
Well, okay.
Rey and Kylo.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I really like Poe as a character in the previous films. They did nothing with them, and it makes me sad.
Finn was my favorite character in
That's
the sequel
fair.
trilogy, and like The Force Awakens, he has easily my favorite. He was my favorite character in the movie. And now it's Adam Driver just because he carries the other two films.
Yeah.
But they just don't give anything to Finn
Or
in
Poe.
the other two films, or Poe.
Yeah.
They give something to Poe, and then they don't even give him anything
They
in this film.
completely reset Poe's entire arc from the last movie.
Yes.
It's like, you know that whole of him like growing to maturity? Nah, not anymore.
Yeah.
And then they said, like, oh yeah, he used to be a spice runner, even though it's directly... And I don't really care about extended lore, but I'm just going to point it out.
It's directly contradicting an extended lore.
I'm just going to say
Once
that.
again, a novel that you won't read.
Yeah.
Rey and Kylo. The only thing I feel that is done semi-decently in that I was never like a Reylo guy or anything like that. I was never super into that shit, but I wasn't against it. And I feel like, even though I feel like they redeemed Ben Solo in a pretty crappy way,
Yeah.
it was more so due to extraneous circumstances that were kind of out of their control, and that they just kind of mishandled a little bit.
Well, I mean, so the original plan, or at least Colin Trevorrow, was that he was not redeemed, which I think that was what I feel Last Jedi was definitely going for.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yes.
They did I will say this. I don't know if I disagree with you. I think they did the best they possibly could. With
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. That's what I'm suggesting
That's
here.
all I'll give them.
They did the best they possibly could, given Carrie Fisher's death, unfortunately. That's the other thing. People were kind of like going into it like really skeptically with the whole we're going to reuse footage of her.
Yeah.
And I feel like they were right.
Really?
It feels pretty clunky. It feels awkward. You have one scene of Maz Kanata just going, and now Leia's about to die, essentially. Like,
I'm on the same thing I was with last one. Like, it's not great. They did the best they could. Those are the two things I'm like, okay, there's no way you do this right. You did this as best you possibly could.
new and other characters. I've already suggested every new character in this sucks.
Okay.
Because they don't do anything. They don't add anything to the plot.
Okay, other characters. I'm the only one who's gonna.
I liked Rizzo.
Who is that?
The small green socially awkward droid.
I was gonna say,
He
I
was
think I
cute.
kind of like that.
I also like the little small.
His name's Dio.
Dio. I don't know. I think I'm getting confused with Rizzo of Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna go. Also.
what's the small guy who rewires?
Bobby Frick.
Bobby Frick. I like Bobby Frick. He's
Not Bobby,
cute.
Babu, but okay.
The only two new characters in this I like because they're super cute. That's it.
Okay, I have two things to say and they're connected to each other, and I'm gonna say them because I'm the only person on Earth who will say it, and I need to stand up for my boy. General Hux was robbed.
Yep.
General Hux, there's people out here, if you're watching this, who are going to say, what, General Hux was a terrible character. You're wrong. General Hux is one of the best characters in the entire sequel trilogy.
Hux.
He's a beautiful...
He may have said Cux.
I said Hux.
You may have missaid Cux.
I meant to say Hux. He is the Starscream of the Star Wars universe. Starscream is the best Transformers character. This is known fact.
I'm not going to argue with this. Let's move on.
But no, and what they did to him is, and here's the thing, they did it because all the fans said, oh, Hux isn't intimidating. I want intimidating villains. I want the same generic intimidating villains. So they replaced Hux with the most boring character in the Star Wars universe. This new, general guy who's, so generically typical, threatening and has a big booming voice, but has nothing interesting going on. No interesting characterization.
And he betrays the bad guys only out of spite.
I hate him.
Hey, did you know that Poe and Finn are not gay?
Shut up.
Definitely straight. Absolutely
They
straight.
Replaced my boy.
At least
with
bisexual.
the worst boy. Okay.
Connections to other trilogies. No, there's no clear direction. Who wrote this? Was it
J.J.
you?
Abrams and
Oh yeah, they clearly didn't plan any of this ahead of time.
Yes.
Which, granted, they didn't necessarily do that 100% in the original trilogy either.
I find that theoretically an interesting idea. It just did not end up going too well. Having one person pass on the mantle each new film. But no,
they clearly needed a plan.
Yeah. It's clearly two different filmmakers, J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson, and apparently also Bob Iger, constantly fighting with each other over how it was going to go instead of people working together like it was supposed to be.
All right, completely negates The Last Jedi. Yes, it does. Literally every cool thematic thing that The Last Jedi does is reversed or explicitly made fun of by the characters in the film. Imagine, if you will, that in Shrek 2, that in random scenes, Donkey turns to the camera and goes, "Edgy takes the fairy tales are stupid, and if you like them, then you're stupid." This film does that twice. And maybe even more times
A
than I
Jedi's-
counted.
Hey, Gabe. A Jedi's weapon should be handled with more care.
Okay. Okay.
Luke was so dumb in this film.
Yeah.
There's this one scene where he, like, again, biggest fans of where like, he lifts, like, the plane outside out of the water. And Mark Hamill, I love you. You looked... Here's the thing. I'll say this, and this might be controversial. Mark Hamill was bad in this film. I will rarely say acting was bad.
Okay.
Mark Hamill was bad in this film.
Here's why. He was bad because he was given nothing. He was given nothing.
I love Mark Hamill.
He clearly phoned it in because he was given nothing.
I'm not going to blame it just on the writing, and I will usually do that. But I'll say this. And yeah, he probably phoned it in because of the writing, but yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm going to say, and I rarely say this about actors, Mark Hamill is just plain not good in this movie.
Mark Hamill's great in general.
Yes.
I love you, mwah. But, really watching this film is a Last Jedi critic simulator. Because you get to watch it, you get to feel how they feel, right? You get the movie where the portrayal of Luke sucks.
Yeah.
You get the movie where the pacing is awful. You get a movie where characters do nothing and new characters are introduced for no reason other than super shallow reasons. And you get retcons and changes, real retcons and real changes to establish stuff in the franchise that either make no sense or make previous films in the franchise bad by proxy. I don't want to watch any of the sequel films anymore.
I still want to watch Last Jedi.
I like Last Jedi. I love The Force Awakens. I don't want to watch them anymore.
Really?
Because because they're both clearly leading up to such a weak finale. Hey,
I'll never
you don't want to know why Maz Kanata has Luke Skywalker's and Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber? A good story for another time.
Okay. Force Awakens, I agree with you. Last Jedi, I think, has interesting stuff in and of itself, but whatever. Let's see.
How it works as a conclusion.
Okay.
Bad.
Here's the thing.
It's really bad.
I put this on here simply because all the trailers said the conclusion of the Skywalker saga, which even at the time, before I knew it was going to be bad, I was like against. Simply because okay, this was not planned as the conclusion. The Skywalker saga was not planned to be this 40-year saga. This was clearly something added on. So I don't know, saying like, oh, this is part of that.
It was planned as a 9-film deal, but he only wrote the middle 3, and then 20 years later wrote the first 3, and then 15 years later, other people badly wrote the final 3. Granted, he also badly wrote the first 3. Much worse, by the way. Like, even this film still doesn't reach the levels of crap that the prequels do. But at least the prequels were made by someone who loved the franchise that he created.
I definitely hate this more than the prequels.
I think that's fair. That doesn't mean that I think I agree. The prequels are definitely worse movies objectively, but this film while the prequels make me frustrated, because they didn't even need to exist in the first place, right?
Right.
This film makes me mad because it takes something good and makes it bad. Like, I feel like that's kind of...
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm going with that?
I think I get what you're saying.
Imagine if I was telling a story to you, and then the last third of the story really sucked. That's just a bad story now.
Yeah.
It's not even a good story with a bad ending. I mean,
Right.
technically it is, but really it's just a bad story.
Right.
The only other thing I'd say for like how it concludes the trilogy, again, it just seems so artificial. Like that one time where like Rey's like passed out and all the past Jedi like speak to Rey. It's like
You couldn't have played this up even more.
And
You
also-
couldn't have made this freaking awesome.
here's the thing, you didn't like earn this because you
Right.
weren't because Palpatine just showed up and he was barely in this movie. It's just like here's this bad guy that just randomly showed up here. Like it's like you weren't. It clearly wasn't being built up to like this big 9 movie saga. So stop playing it like you were.
And the worst thing about it I can really say is, going into this, I was really, really ready for it to at the very least be a celebration of this franchise made by people who at least loved the franchise. I didn't even if the film was going to be bad, and I heard like mixed reviews going into it, I was at least hoping it was going to be that, and it just straight up isn't even that. It's just, again, it seems like it's made by people who don't understand what makes Star Wars fun. It seems like it's made by people who weren't even into it in the first place.
Yeah.
People who maybe think it's kind of cool, I guess, but not people who, grew up with it or really enjoyed it as, at any age, really.
Yeah.
It seriously feels like a corporate cash grab. And knowing that it was technically written by people who I know love this franchise, that's probably the worst possible thing I can say about it.
Yeah.
Again, at least the prequels were made with a lot of heart. They're awful. They're objectively worse films, but at least it was made by a guy with a pure vision who also wanted to make billions out of merchandising.
Yes.
Right? That was also a
But
part
here's
of
the
it.
thing, that equals out because Disney also wants to make billions off merchandising.
Right.
So you can't say, oh, Disney has the one up on them for that.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I don't know.
So-
This film makes me depressed.
to end on a happier note, I assume. That's why I put visuals, effects, and cinematography at the end. They're fine.
Yeah. They're fine. They're good. They're cool. They did a good job.
Here's the thing: the effects are pretty good. I will say, The Last Jedi looks so beautiful, like just the camera angles and stuff like this.
It's a better directed film just in general.
And just just visually, it looks more beautiful than this film does. But
Well, what is your take on that?
It's a Star Wars movie.
so
Yeah, I mean, no, just in terms of how good it looks.
It looks like a Star Wars movie.
yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Was there any visual that stood out to you? Because I have two that I just want to bring up because they made me laugh so hard.
I had inconsistency, I think.
Okay.
When they were like trying to take down the whole fleet at the end, Finn and that new girl were just running on top of those spaceships. Then it starts going down. They're standing sideways at one
Yeah.
point and just like space. Like they should have fallen.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. There's really not much that really sticks out to me. There are no shots that I really thought, oh, that's just a bad shot or
Here's the
anything.
thing: I have two. They're honestly
But there's
bad
not a lot
shots.
that are like, that's awesome.
There's
or
one in the trailer. It's when Kylo Ren, is covered in water when he's walking the ship and he walks out. It's just the way he looks in that made me laugh very hard. Like you know what? It's in the trailer. You know?
Yeah, I do. I know what you're talking about.
It's very sensual and clearly like out of like
Hey, 14-year-old
a
girls.
crappy romance novel.
Potentially some 14-year-old boy.
And one other thing I'm gonna say,
not Finn or Poe.
and again, I love Adam Driver dearly. I think he's an amazing actor. The way he runs is hysterical to me. When he finally turns good and he's like going to save Rey, I can't do it because
The redeemed Ben. Don't mock the redeemed Ben Solo.
The way he runs
owns
is
it.
so funny. It is the most. It's the geekiest, most loser run ever. And it's
Do
so
not,
weird for me to say
no.
that.
Do not
It is-
mock my Chad
No,
Ben Solo.
I love it, but it's hysterical. Watch that movie if you get the chance. Watch the movie again and pay attention to how he runs. It's amazing.
Let's review this. Let's rate this. I already gave my rating, but I'm just gonna kind of. Yeah. I'm gonna change that. I'm just gonna. You know what? I saw it, and I'm gonna change it for you. I'm gonna censor this for you. There we go.
Fine.
There we go. All right, go ahead.
No.
Fine. Fair. I agree. I agree. Yeah.
Thank you.
You deserve a medal, my friend.
Thank you.
2 out of 5, and no pictures or anything, because this film sucks the life out of me. The joy.
Who gives a frick?
Yeah. 2 out of 5. Technically, well made.
I don't want to expend
But-
any more brain energy on this film.
And here's the thing. To end on a happier note, to either feel appreciated or make someone else appreciated, who had the best opinion? All right?
The best opinion.
The best opinion. We're not voting them off, we're voting them on.
Are they still leaving?
Maybe.
How about no? Whoever has the best opinion, they get to do the outro. Everyone still stays on.
Oh, no, that's perfect. That's perfect. Okay. I've already voted. You can vote for yourself, by the way. Don't feel shy.
Okay.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Oh, why thank you. Why thank you.
So you do the outro as always.
Perfect.
You know what? I'm gonna nominate Ben K. If you want.
If I want.
If you want. It's a voluntary thing.
I feel like I don't nearly have the heart for it, being someone who has not seen
All right.
every Star Wars. So
Well, you know what? I'm gonna end this episode much better than than this movie. They ended this. Bye. Don't actually fade out. So yeah. You know what? We went through a lot of things these past 4 episodes.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of movies. We saw some really good ones. We saw a lot of bad ones. Like a lot of bad ones. Specifically 2 or 3.
Depending on your point of view.
Depending on your point of view. Hey.
I also love
From a certain point of view.
I love that Ben has been on all of them, despite the fact that he's the only not Star Wars fan.
Yeah, you are like
You're the real champ, Ben.
Thank
Yes,
you.
you suffered. You suffered through some films.
I endured.
Yeah. Honestly, I actually want to know, right before we end this, I think the best way to end it is, what is your overall opinion of the Star Wars franchise?
Most likely never again.
Wow.
Fair.
You know what? Godspeed to you.
Thank you.
You know, different strokes for different folks.
And for those at home,
Hey, next week, we're shifting gears entirely. We know this nerd stuff, sci-fi. Ew, gross. What are you?
I'm a fan of sports ball, Gabe.
Dungeons and dwarves. What? We're gonna do sports,
Yes.
specifically hockey, specifically a Disney sports movie, specifically Miracle. Next week on For the Love of Film. Till next time, this is Gabe Thorpe saying,
May the Force be with you.
what he said.